Hello everyone, welcome to Reddit Visuals. My stepchildren said my rules were meaningless, so I stopped enforcing anything and let consequences enforce themselves. Their bio dad noticed quickly, and what happened next changed everything. I used to believe that if you showed up consistently, loved hard enough, and kept your word, people would eventually respect you. I believed effort earned authority. I believed patience created trust. I believed that if you stayed steady long enough, people would stop testing you and start relying on you. That belief came from my own upbringing. Adults who didn't negotiate rules. Coaches who didn't explain every consequence but followed through every time. Structure didn't feel like control back then. It felt like safety. So when I stepped into a family of my own, I assumed the same principles applied. I was wrong. Some people don't want structure. They don't want guidance. They want freedom without responsibility. And learning that lesson didn't just challenge my parenting instincts, it nearly broke my marriage before it exposed the truth underneath everything. I never planned on being a stepdad. That wasn't some dream I had growing up. I didn't picture myself navigating teenage defiance, custody schedules, or the constant fear of overstepping. But life doesn't ask what you planned for. It hands you situations and waits to see how you respond when there's no clean answer. I met my wife Lauren when I was 38. She was sharp, kind, and tired in the way only single parents are tired. The kind of tired that settles into your bones and shows up in the choices you don't have energy to fight about. She had 2 kids from her previous marriage, Jake, who was 15 at the time, and Emily, who had just turned 13. Their biological father, Ryan, lived about an hour away. Weekend dad, birthday texts, big promises, inconsistent follow-through. That dynamic was firmly established long before I ever entered the picture. At first, I stayed in my lane. I wasn't trying to replace anyone. I wasn't trying to be the dad. I followed Lauren's lead. I helped with rides, paid for groceries, fixed things around the house, quiet contributions, earn your place stuff. I figured trust wasn't something you demanded. It was something you built slowly, brick by brick. The kids were polite but guarded. Not rude. Not warm either. They watched how I spoke to their mom. They watched how I reacted when plans changed. They watched whether I stayed calm under pressure. They were measuring me, even if they didn't realize it. After Lauren and I got married and moved into a bigger place together, everything shifted. That was about 8 months after we met. Suddenly, I wasn't just mom's boyfriend anymore. I was there every day. Morning routines, breakfast dishes, homework questions shouted down the hallway. Curfews, chores, expectations. That's when the tension started creeping in. Jake pushed first. Small things at first. Eye rolls when I reminded him about homework. Ignoring curfew by 10 minutes, then 15, then 30. Testing how far he could stretch the rules without snapping them outright. Emily followed differently, quieter, smarter. She'd smile, say okay, and then quietly do the opposite once she thought no one was watching. Lauren corrected them sometimes, but she hated conflict. I could see it in the way her shoulders tightened when voices rose. She'd sigh, smooth things over, promise to talk to them later. Later almost never came. I told myself she was overwhelmed. That once things settled, we'd be on the same page. Eventually, I stepped in more. Not harshly, not yelling, just structure. Phones away at dinner, homework before gaming, chores before hanging out with friends, bedtimes that made sense for school nights, the kind of rules most families live by without ever labeling them as rules. That's when Jake laughed in my face for the first time. It was over something stupid. He wanted to go out on a school night without finishing an assignment. I said no, calmly. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't threaten. I just said no. He leaned back in his chair, smirked, and said, "You know your rules don't actually matter, right?" The room went quiet in a way that felt heavy. Emily snorted from the couch without looking up from her phone. Lauren froze halfway between the kitchen and the hallway like she'd walked into something sharp. "What do you mean by that?" I asked. Jake shrugged. "You're not my dad. You can say whatever you want, but you don't decide anything." Emily added, casual and confident. "Yeah, Mom always changes it anyway." They weren't angry. They were certain. That's what hurt the most. This wasn't a tantrum. This was a verdict they'd already reached. Lauren stepped in, told them to apologize. They did, half-hearted, robotic, the kind of apology that exists only to end the conversation. But the damage was already done. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying those words. Your rules don't matter. I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel heartbreak. I felt something colder. Clarity. The realization that effort without authority doesn't create respect. It creates resentment. It teaches people that your boundaries are optional. Over the next few weeks, I tried to fix it. Family meetings, calm conversations, explaining why rules existed, explaining that respect wasn't about biology, it was about consistency and effort. They nodded, promised to do better, then went right back to ignoring everything. Every consequence I enforced was quietly undone. If I grounded Jake, Lauren softened it by the next morning. If I took Emily's phone, it reappeared on her nightstand by evening. Sometimes Lauren didn't even realize she was doing it. Other times she did and just didn't have the energy to fight. Intent didn't change the outcome. I was being erased one decision at a time. Then I overheard the comment that changed everything. Jake was on speakerphone with his dad one afternoon. I was in the garage working on the lawnmower, the door cracked open. Ryan's voice came through clearly, loud and dismissive. Relax, buddy. He's not your real dad. He can't do anything. Just wait till you're with me this weekend. We don't do his uptight nonsense over here. Jake laughed. I know. It's just annoying having him act like he's in charge. Ryan said, You don't have to listen to him. Just play along until you're back with me. Something inside me went completely still, like a switch had flipped. That night, I didn't argue. I didn't confront anyone. I didn't explode. I made a decision instead. If my rules were meaningless, I would stop enforcing them. No announcement, no threats, just a quiet withdrawal. I didn't stop caring. I stopped overriding their choices. I stopped reminding Jake about homework, stopped checking grades, stopped enforcing curfews. Emily forgot her lunch one day. I didn't bring it. Jake missed the bus. I didn't rearrange my work schedule. Chores didn't get done. I didn't nag. I didn't lecture. I let silence fill the space where I used to stand. At first, the kids barely noticed. That hurt more than I expected. Lauren noticed, though. I could feel it, the tension, the unspoken expectation that I'd jump back in when things got hard. One night she asked me why I wasn't saying anything about Jake's curfew. I told her quietly, I can't enforce rules I'm not allowed to keep. She didn't argue. She looked almost relieved. I think she believed less friction meant less conflict, that things would stabilize if everyone just calmed down. They didn't. The house unraveled faster than I expected. Within 2 weeks, dishes stacked up in the sink until the smell lingered. Laundry disappeared until the kids were wearing wrinkled clothes to school. Jake's grades slipped from B's to C's. Emily missed assignments. Teachers started emailing Lauren. She tried to handle it alone. She reminded. She yelled. She grounded. She cried. She worked long hours and came home to chaos, and I stayed out of it. That was the first real consequence. Absence. The absence of someone who cared enough to push back. Lauren started resenting me. I could feel it in the quiet, in the slammed cabinets, in the way she'd say, I can't do this alone, without ever actually asking me to step back in. We slept back to back more nights than not. The house felt tense even when it was quiet. About 6 weeks into my withdrawal, Jake got suspended for skipping class 3 times in 1 week. The school called Lauren at work. She was furious. She grounded him for 2 weeks, took his phone, told him he couldn't see friends. Jake called his dad that same night. Ryan showed up 2 days later, unannounced, furious. He rang the doorbell like he was trying to break it. I opened the door. He didn't even look at me. He pushed past and started yelling at Lauren in the living room, accused her of being too strict, accused me of poisoning her against him, claimed I was controlling and emotionally neglecting his kids by refusing to parent them. The irony wasn't lost on me. He demanded Jake come live with him full time, said he'd handle the school situation, said he'd give Jake freedom with reasonable boundaries, whatever that meant, promised it would all work out. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I didn't list the 2 years of groceries, car insurance, school supplies, or the new laptop I'd bought Jake for his birthday. I just said, "If that's what you want, go ahead." Jake hesitated, just for a second, long enough for doubt to flicker across his face. Then he grabbed his bag and walked out with his father. Lauren cried that night. She asked me why I didn't fight for him. I told her the truth. You can't fight for someone who doesn't want you there. By the end of the first week at Ryan's, cracks started showing. Jake missed school twice, stayed up all night gaming because Ryan worked late shifts and wasn't home to enforce anything, blew off homework. Ryan tried grounding him after the school called. Jake laughed and used the same line he'd used on me. "Your rules don't matter." Ryan didn't laugh. He called Lauren, frustrated, asking if Jake had always been this difficult. She didn't answer that question. Emily didn't move out physically, but she drifted emotionally. She started spending more time at friends' houses. New friends Lauren didn't know. She got 2 detentions in 1 month for talking back to teachers. Failed a major quiz in math, a subject she'd always done well in. She stopped talking to me entirely, started calling her dad more, complaining that our house was boring now that I wasn't obsessed with rules. Ryan encouraged it, told her she could stay with him anytime she wanted. Then, about 3 months after Jake moved out, Emily failed an entire class, not just one test, the whole semester. The school sent a formal letter. Lauren cried in the kitchen that night, exhausted tears, not angry ones. She asked me why I wasn't helping anymore. I told her the truth, because they told me not to. That was the breaking point for us. We went to marriage counseling. The therapist asked hard questions about boundaries, about partnership, about whether I felt supported. Lauren admitted she'd been undoing my consequences because she was afraid of losing the kids, afraid they'd choose their dad if she was too strict. The therapist asked her if avoiding conflict had actually kept the kids close. Lauren didn't have an answer. Then the therapist brought Jake and Emily in for a session, asked Jake directly if he respected me. He didn't answer, just stared at his shoes. That silence said everything. Emily said quietly, "He cares too much." That stuck with me. Caring too much was my crime. Things escalated again 2 weeks later. Emily got caught shoplifting with friends, makeup and jewelry, stupid stuff. Lauren was out of town at a work conference. The store called me because I was the emergency contact. I picked Emily up. No yelling, no lecture, just the sound of the engine and her quiet crying in the passenger seat. I asked her one question. "Do you want to be here? At our house?" She didn't answer. I drove her straight to Ryan's house, knocked on the door. Ryan answered, confused. I said, "She got caught shoplifting. She's been asking to stay with you. Here's your chance to handle it." I left before he could argue. Ryan called me 2 hours later, furious, asked why I didn't parent her, why I didn't teach her a lesson, asked what kind of man drops off a kid like that. I said calmly, "I thought my rules didn't matter. I thought I wasn't her real dad. You've been telling them they don't have to listen to me, so I'm letting you show them what real parenting looks like." He hung up. Emily stayed with Ryan after that. Both kids were at his place full time now. Lauren was devastated. She barely spoke to me for days, blamed me for pushing them away. I didn't defend myself. I just waited. Within 2 months, reality hit Ryan like a freight train. Jake failed 2 classes and lost his spot on the soccer team he'd been on since middle school. Emily's new friends got her into more trouble. Vandalism, curfew violations. Ryan got called to the school twice in 1 week. His work started suffering because he had to leave early constantly to deal with the kids. He tried grounding them. They ignored him. Tried taking phones. They bought burner phones with money from who knows where. He couldn't control them, and he didn't have the energy or patience I'd spent 2 years building. The school called a meeting about 4 months after both kids moved in with Ryan. Attendance issues, behavioral concerns, failing grades, the counselor, 2 teachers, a vice principal, Lauren, Ryan, and me. They invited me because I was still legally Emily's stepfather and on all the school forms. Ryan looked like he'd aged 5 years, bags under his eyes, defeated posture. The vice principal asked what supports were in place at home. Ryan admitted he couldn't manage them alone, said he worked nights, said they didn't listen to him, said he'd tried everything. He didn't look at me when he said it, but I felt the weight of those words. The counselor suggested a structured home environment with consistent consequences. Asked if there was anyone else who could help provide that. Lauren looked at me. Ryan looked at the floor. Jake and Emily sat silent, arms crossed, trying to look tough, but mostly looking lost. After the meeting, Ryan pulled me aside in the parking lot. He looked broken. He said, "I didn't think it would be this hard. I thought they just needed freedom. Turns out they need someone who gives a damn." I didn't gloat. I just said, "They always did." That weekend, Lauren and I sat down with both kids. Not at Ryan's place, at a neutral coffee shop. I didn't lecture. I didn't shame them. I asked them one question. "Do you want to come home?" Jake said quietly. "Things are bad at Dad's," Emily said. "I miss having dinner together." I didn't realize she remembered those. I said, "If you come back, things will be different. There will be rules, real ones, and they won't get undone. You'll have chores, you'll have curfews, you'll have consequences, but you'll also have support. Help with homework, rides to practice, someone who cares whether you're okay. That's the deal. Take it or leave it." They looked at each other. Then Jake said, "We'll take it." They came back a week later, quietly. No celebration, no drama. Just two kids walking back into a house that had been waiting for them. Lauren and I sat down with them that first night and wrote out a family contract. Rules, expectations, consequences. We all signed it. Lauren didn't undermine it this time. I made sure of that in our counseling sessions. She'd finally realized that protecting them from consequences wasn't protecting them at all. It was crippling them. Ryan didn't fight it. We modified the custody agreement formally. He got every other weekend and one weeknight dinner. He admitted in court that he couldn't provide the structure they needed. That hurt his pride, but he signed the papers. It wasn't perfect after that. Jake tested me twice in the first month. I held firm. Lauren backed me up. He stopped testing. Emily missed curfew once. I grounded her. She complained to Ryan. Ryan told her to follow my rules. That was the moment I knew things had actually changed. Over the next 6 months, Jake's grades came back up. He got back on the soccer team after a probationary period. Emily made new friends, better ones, and her teacher sent an email saying she'd turned in every assignment on time for 5 weeks straight. Small victories, slow progress, but real. One night about 8 months after they came back, Jake asked if he could talk to me. We sat on the back porch. He said, "I'm sorry for what I said, about your rules not mattering. They did matter. I just didn't want to admit it. I told him I appreciated that. Then I said something I'd been holding on to. Rules aren't about control. They're about care. When someone cares enough to set boundaries, it means they're invested in who you become. I wasn't trying to be your dad. I was trying to be someone you could count on." He nodded, said, "I get that now." Emily apologized a month later. Hers was shorter, quieter, but just as real. She said, "I thought freedom meant no rules, but it just meant no one cared where I ended up." That hit me harder than I expected. Lauren and I are in a better place now, too. Counseling helped. But what really helped was her finally understanding that undermining me wasn't protecting the kids. It was teaching them that authority was negotiable and love was conditional. Now, when I set a rule, it stays set. When I enforce a consequence, she supports it. We're a team. Finally. Ryan still sees the kids, but the dynamic has shifted. He's not the fun, permissive dad anymore. He's just their dad. Limited time, limited influence. He told Lauren once that he respects what I do for them. That was as close to an apology as I'll ever get. I'll take it. I didn't win by punishing them. I didn't win by being right. I won by stepping back and letting reality speak louder than I ever could. Sometimes the best lesson you can teach is the one you stop preventing. So tell me, was I wrong for letting consequences teach the lesson? Should I have fought harder to stay involved even when they rejected me? Or was stepping back the only way they'd ever learn the value of structure? Drop a comment and tell me what you would have done if your stepkids told you your rules didn't matter. And if you enjoy stories like this where boundaries meet reality, please like and subscribe to Reddit Visuals. It genuinely helps the channel grow, and there's a lot more coming.